Hello, this is Tim Campbell at Action Coach Business Coaching with my Survive and Thrive Business Spotlight series. The purpose is to interview local business owners and promote them through my social channels and email database, as well as provide them coaching. This is a free service I'm doing because if we save every business, we save the economy. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Tom. Welcome, Tom. It's great to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me, and good morning.
Fantastic. Well, let's jump in. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself as well as your business.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity to showcase myself and my business. So I've been doing process improvement or continuous improvement consulting for probably 10 years, 11 years now. It was something I stumbled into. I think a lot of your guests, I've watched a few of your episodes, how they've arrived where they are today, and somewhat it was happenstance. Like they stumbled across it, like, wow, this really piques my interest. I'm going to go a little bit further. So that first blush with it, I was doing fundraising, working in a nonprofit. And when you do work like that, you really want to make sure your processes are lean and efficient, because the donors who want to see their gifts go out and do good. I was working in the fundraiser when Katrina had hit. So it was of the utmost importance to be a good fiduciary of these gifts, to account for them accurately and then route them quickly to the field so that the relief work could happen. And I became a student of process and really wanted to make sure everything I was doing in my work in Treasury Services was, as efficient as possible. And that's what I started to read about the practices of becoming a Lean Six Sigma belt. And a small organization, it wasn't work I could do full time, but definitely things I found that I really enjoyed. And the opportunity to do work like that full time came in working in healthcare. So I had a 9-year career at one of the health systems here in Indianapolis as a process improvement consultant. And our team over that 9-year period grew from 3.5, I was the 4th employee, up to, at one point, 16 black belts and project managers within the organization that were leading change efforts that were varied in scale. A lot of them focused on quality improvement. I was doing hospital turnaround as the organization was growing and acquiring practices and even hospitals. I was helping to do some of that integration. So no day was the same. Like, there was a lot of variety in the types of things that you were being asked to do. So throughout that experience, I came to love healthcare, but mostly what I came to love was just working with people and helping them look at the processes that they do every single day and walking through those processes to, make them better. And I think if you can do that, if you can put the people in charge of their work, they're going to, drive better results, but I think they're also going to get a lot more out of it. They're going to enjoy the work that they're doing. And, if you can do that, you're going to drive engagement, but you're also going to give that person, a little bit more purpose in the work that you're asking them to do. And that can spill over into other part of that person's life. So that's really where, I love improvement, but what I love to see more is when people get it and someone kind of trusts them and empowers them to take ownership of the processes. And when that happens, the results are beyond anything you can expect. So that's where, like, my curiosity went to complete addiction. And I'm like, okay. And we had the culture pretty much influenced at that point. So the next thing for me was to go out on my own and take this idea and work with organizations and teach them continuous improvement and help the individuals within the organization go through that same journey.
Fantastic. So Tom, how long have you been on your own?
I've been on my own since April of last year. I was tinkering with freelancing and doing it on the side. So it's kind of a side gig for a while. I would travel once a quarter and do a project and just kind of test the waters. And then one of those organizations I had helped kind of kept track of what I was doing, and they found themselves in a situation where they required a large financial turnaround. It was a gap that they discovered in their auditing process of $24 million, and they needed to implement a portfolio of work as well as new skills, new thinking within the organization to help activate those projects. So went in and did some of the business assessment of where are those opportunities, worked alongside their CFO, and kind of filtered through the project ideas and helped prioritize them and implement a system for tracking them. But then also had to go to the caregivers. So it was a healthcare organization. We call them caregivers, anyone who works in healthcare. Go to them and, validate the ideas, gather more ideas from them, but then also get them to participate and take ownership of those ideas and implement them. So it was a tremendous opportunity to do work that I was really passionate about and to help an organization that was crucially important to the economy in the area in which it was located. And, I wasn't really looking when they came looking for me, but, I had a lot of people encouraged me to take the leap. And the one who kind of pushed it the most was my wife, who had just as much to lose as I did, right? Because
Yeah.
together.
Yes. Well, congratulations on the fast start, the little nudge out into full time. So who is it that you serve? Really, who's your best client? We call that our target audience.
I definitely want to continue to target healthcare, but as of right now, when we're recording this episode, there's a lot of challenges they're facing with our pandemic, and they just don't have the capacity to be driving their continuous improvement efforts the way that they had in the past. So they're still a big part of who I want to be serving. In the meantime, I'm working with small businesses that have high potentials within the organization, and these smaller businesses are starting to experience a little bit of growth, and the processes that worked for them before are not working right now because there's new demands being placed on them, and they just don't have tools to analyze those processes and improve those processes to help take them to that next level. So I work with small business through their people. So I don't really want to ever be the person who comes in and just tells organizations what to be doing. I try to always come in and partner with their individuals within the organization and transfer these skills to help them map their processes, identify their problems, work through root cause issues, and come up with, either through benchmarking, what some best practices might be, or through internal brainstorming, hey, what is the best thing for us to be doing right now? And ideas are important, but the plan to implement the idea, that's really where the rubber meets the road. So oftentimes when they go to implement these ideas, I help to serve as an accountability partner to say, what is the idea? What's the next logical step you could do? Somewhat following, I don't know if you're familiar with PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. It's an iterative process that has you kind of learn as you go. It's not saying let's plan from here to the next 6 months. Let's plan, the next week out with high confidence to know, hey, that's the best thing we can be doing. And then once we get past all those deliverables, stop and reassess and make decisions on next steps. So the implementation is really where I become a catalyst for organizations, because they probably have good ideas and they probably have tried to implement them before, but that accountability to actually do it week to week, day to day is the structure that I've discovered to be the most valuable.
Fantastic. And yes, certainly familiar with that model. It's similar to the way that we do with working with clients from a coaching standpoint. It is breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. Right? The thing I like to say a lot is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So you mentioned the pandemic earlier. Tell me, what's been the greatest impact that COVID has had on your business, Tom?
It's got me, so I'm introverted, and when you do networking, historically it was at conferences and you'd have to get the courage to go meet people in person, and that's can be quite exhausting and nerve-wracking for someone who's slightly introverted. So going through this has helped me kind of get a little bit more out of my shell, doing things I would never really have thought was in my abilities. So being a guest on podcast, doing my own podcast, sitting and recording YouTube videos, talking through some of the tools or the key concepts of continuous improvement. So trying to establish a more robust online presence and promoting myself. So, that's something that I probably wouldn't have done as much had business kind of continued as usual. So I feel like I've strengthened um, an e-learning environment, an ecosystem that has access to information in a lot of different ways, either through the website, through online training courses, which, I'm a lot further along than I would have been had the pandemic not challenged me to pivot. Coaching services. So I've met individuals who are wanting to become a PMP or a black belt. I've even worked with someone overseas who was studying for their master black belt, and the individual was successful. So I didn't even think executive coaching was something that I was, sophisticated enough or experienced enough to do. And now people are coming to me and asking, hey, how did you pass this exam? So just a lot of discovery has occurred through this. And I think, listening to some of your episodes, many people have kind of said, I've grown tremendously. I've learned that the limits I thought I had previously weren't accurate. They were stories I had made up in my head, and I can do some of these things effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say is the number one pivot that you made that's had the most impact on your business model?
The coaching and helping people to, prepare for and take the exams. I'd always kind of worked with an organization and certified internally, helping to stand up. The continuous improvement training follows the belts. So its origins are of Eastern culture. So you have a white belt, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and they kind of build on each other and gain expertise and kind of coach and mentor one another along that trajectory. So I would partner with organizations and train cohorts of people and get a large percent of them at the white belt level. And then from those people who expressed a lot of passion for it, they would move on to the yellow belt level, on to green belt. So I was doing a lot of cohorting and implementing these programs into organizations that I never thought, hey, there's a market for a party of one, just an individual who's already on fire about these things and needs a little extra nudge to go through the process to formally apply to whatever governing body, whether it's PMI, the Project Management Institute, or ASQ. So I think that was definitely one of the biggest pivots. And there's a lot of risk there because you're creating a relationship with a person, and you can give them advice, but just like I'm sure you can relate to this, is when you're coaching, you don't do the work for them, right? You let them know what you think is good activities to be focusing on that are productive and will help you make progress in the direction you want to go, but the person has to actually do those things.
Yes, indeed. So Tom, here's an interesting question. It's been said that smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So what mistakes have you made along the way that other entrepreneurs can learn from your experience?
That's a great question. I would think, in the work I was doing, a lot of people fail to engage leadership in change and transformation efforts. So I think a lot of the belt programs, project management as well, they're guilty of this, that their curriculums are all kind of designed to the individual practitioner. So the project manager or the change agent or the belt. And yeah, those are really important resources. But the leadership team, the people who are going to govern all the improvement activities or the change efforts in their organization, and oftentimes they're where it originates from, a strategic plan or a long-term vision. Working with that group was a gap in a lot of the work I had done. And one was because I didn't have a set of tools. And if you go online, there's not a toolbox for project sponsors either. So, I've had to, over time through those conversations, learn really how to make leadership excited about it, because it sometimes feels like it's a little bit more work to be going through and making sure all your projects are chartered and recorded and have ownership, things like that. Like for a sponsor, they're already really busy people, And when you're saying, hey, these things are going to set your teams up for success, it's necessary to do, you gotta show them the value, but you also have to help them kind of lean into it and understand that it's not more work. It is the work. It's what you should be doing as a leader, and helping to kind of change their behaviors and give them new tools and give them new thinking, and give them mentorship so that they could be successful. And for a long time I didn't have anything. They would voice those concerns and say, hey, we need some leadership development, and I'd say we gotta go to another person because I don't have those things. I'm focused in on your belts. And now it's happened enough that I've collected tools, and I've started to amass a sponsorship kind of toolbox and curriculum that I'm excited to bring forward, and can't wait to see where it goes.
Fantastic. Awesome. Second last question here, Tom. I'm going to get your contact information to include that when I post this video. Is there anything else that we should add, like any types of special offers or ways people can learn more about whether your service is right for them?
Yeah, do check me out online. I've got a web presence. I have a website that is thegreendotgroup.com. The podcast really brings in improvement minded people and lets them kind of share their stories and showcase a method, whether it's professional or personal development. I think that's really important to change, is you really got to know who you are and how you deal with change first. So I feature a lot of individuals who are experts on self-improvement, focusing on teams, focusing on technology. So bringing in individuals to be podcast guests and just kind of nerd out with them and let them kind of talk about some of the experiences they've had. So the podcast is a lot of fun, and really selfishly, it's for my own benefit because I love to soak up knowledge from other people. So that is on the Improvement Nerds website. And, I'd encourage people to check it out and follow it. And if you hear an episode that resonates with you, leave a comment. Let me know. If you hear an episode that you think is valuable to someone else, I'd love if you would share it and help get these conversations out there. Because I think through dialogue, we're able to kind of, really accurately assess where we are within our own professional journeys, but also our own personal journeys. And from there, if you can kind of say, here's where I am, but here's where I want to be, that's opening the door for change to actually start to happen.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll make sure to include all those links in this post. Last question, Tom. Tell me what's been most inspiring to you during all of the craziness we've been going through.
Oh, I would think that, the way that healthcare has responded, they were facing a lot of, in my opinion, facing a lot of challenges before the pandemic in regards to nurse burnout and physician burnout. So they were already stretched pretty thin because they were trying to work through, the issues around here locally, opioid crisis, and we had issues in regards to high occurrence of diabetes within our populations, and they wanted to focus their energy there. And that's a hard thing to get traction on. They're trying to get traction on smoking cessation and the low birth weight mortality rate. They were wanting to be more successful in there. So healthcare was already working hard and making progress on those things, and they're still focusing their energy there. But now another thing has been added with the coronavirus pandemic, and I'm just so inspired by the people who get up every day and go to work knowing there's inherent risk in the work they're doing to help someone else. And that's not just nurses, that's everyone who goes to work in healthcare right now. There's people who are doing registration at the front desk, they're at risk. You have people in the billing office, they're at risk of exposure. You have environmental services, the people who keep the hospital clean. So just to see all those individuals kind of continue to put themselves out there, and we owe them our support.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Tom. That does conclude the interview. For those listening, if you heard something in this interview that piques your interest, please reach out to Tom to learn more about how he can help you. If you're thinking about things we've talked about and said, hey, there's something that I'm struggling with, if you'd like to just get on a call and chat through that a little bit, I do offer a complimentary coaching session. So I'll provide a link to that information as well. Tom, it's been a pleasure learning about you and your company today, and I wish you tremendous success.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting me.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too.